Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Plus Three Futures and Commodities Midweek Show. My name is Ben Maldonado. As always, I'm here with my partner, Barry Hederachi. And on today's show, it's all about NVIDIA. The market picks something to focus on every week, Barry, and it becomes the thing that we have to trade around and meet. And this week it's NVIDIA earnings. So
Hmm.
on today's show, we're going to review NVIDIA. We're going to review the major indices that moved since the Friday show, and just sort of see what probabilities favor is going to happen after NVIDIA reports.
Yeah, yeah. And what we have is from the 22 low, we have a square, 540, 270 by 540 right there.
That's a damn good square.
That's a very good square. And I think before that, these lines and everything must be from the prior show. We covered NVIDIA a couple of times.
Probably right before its last earnings
Yeah, yeah.
or 3 months ago.
And I think the whole thing there was about breaking out of this triangle, because that's probably why the triangle's there and the 50% of the square, of course. And we did that. Ran right up to the top of the square. Now we're stuck. I wouldn't say below, but right at the square. That's
Hmm.
270 degrees up from the 2022. So this is, considered resistance. And well, for now we have time and price resistance.
Yep.
And you can see as soon as we hit that, the market kind of buckled up and corrected a couple 3 days. Today we went up strongly.
Think somebody
And
got an advanced copy of those earnings.
possibly.
Yeah.
Let's see. We'll know tomorrow what
Hmm.
happened. All right. So we have that. That alone is something because this is coming from 2022. It's a kind of a big deal.
It started
Um,
this whole 2022 low started this whole leg.
yeah, exactly.
Hmm.
And it looks like so when the 2022 low comes up with key levels to watch, we have to do that. We have to really
Hmm.
keep an eye on it. And the other low was where sort of this triangulation started.
Hmm.
And
Ooh,
if you go from there, we're 144
damn.
by 144.
That's good.
That's pretty good, yeah. And the funny thing is, right under it is exactly 144, which is kind of cute. Only if this low was just a little bit lower, like right there.
It would have been right there. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it would have been
Man, the universe has a way of
just,
tweaking you, doesn't it?
just well, if you're in the numbers. So
Yeah.
anyway, we have to work with what we have. We've taken the low of April 4th, which started a hell of a leg up, right? I mean, that
Yeah.
was pretty strong. So coming from there, we're again squaring out 144 by 144.
Wow.
All right. So what else do we have? Well, let's see what else we got. We got a
In case you
weekly.
don't know, people, that means like amber lights are flashing,
Yeah.
flashing, flashing.
Definitely yellow flags are flashing, maybe even red.
Hmm.
So here's the 270 degrees up from the 22 low. And
Hmm.
then we take a look at the monthly. We're 72 months from the 2018 low and up 144 degrees right there.
Wow.
You get this feeling like 144, 72 vibrations like everywhere here on this chart.
And NVIDIA likes the 144.
Clearly,
Yep.
it's definitely in the 72 vibe because, we ran up 36 months
Hmm.
here.
Then
And
corrected.
so it's definitely happening. And also, we checked back to the 72 before we took off, after we ran up above 72, check back was right there. So there's a
Right.
lot of evidence for that. And we had some monthly counts coming in on the June, July, high when we
Yep.
got into that. And those, that gave us 2 months down. I mean, a decent correction, right? We went from all the way high of 140 down to 90. And that was at a quarter of a square, held it. And then we rallied three quarters right up to that 144. And yeah, I hate saying, plus or minus one, but it has to be plus or minus one because that's just how, yeah, life works.
Hmm.
And even here, we were 1 month ahead. So 35, 36, and then down. So we have to make room for at least plus or minus one bar. And if we do that, then December becomes exactly 72. Here
Hmm.
it's 71. Yeah, sure. Maybe give or take, give or take one. the point is we have price and time squaring very close to where we are right now. And so the next earnings is what, another 3 months.
Well, tomorrow and then 3 months from that. Yeah.
So that will be one, two, three. We'll be like 3 bars away from here.
Hmm.
So this is the closest thing we have to work with. Again, here we hit price. And if we go to the calendar day chart, we're also hitting 540 degrees up. We're squaring up price and time here.
Wow.
So you can see there's a whole cluster of
A lot of bells ringing, Barry.
a lot of bills, a lot of price and times coming into place. And this is, I think the 144 by 144 has to be my favorite. So let's go with that. All right. So this is what I would call evidence that we're looking at the chart. Yeah, so we looked at all the evidence and now we want to move into like, okay, what's actionable here? What can we do? What are we looking at?
Well, we
And
know the
we
key price.
for sure. I mean, we're closing exactly 147. Just happens to be exactly where the 144 square is.
Yep.
I mean, this is when you think the market gods are playing with you, right? So,
Hmm.
so, so, I mean, the approach for tomorrow is look, anytime, I mean, we don't follow NVDA every week. So you guys, but if you're a regular, if you watch our shows regularly, we look for the highest squares to come in. And when they come in, we look for some kind of a sign of weakness or some kind of a setup or pattern that would give us, uh, any kind of a sign of a change in trend. So, one of the easiest ones would be a lower high. And so here, it just so happens as of today, we have a lower high. And of course, we have tomorrow. So my take is, before we get into that, one thing I want to really clear up is I know there's a habit in calling the market out and saying, well, it's going to do this, this, and this all ahead of time as if you're going to profit from that, you know?
Hmm.
And we don't. I mean, all kind of talk can only trap you mentally. And when it really something is unfolding, then you can't get into it because you got all kinds of stories in your head about what you think should happen and so forth and so on. You know
So
what I mean,
true.
Ben?
So true.
So here we're looking at, I mean, the way we look at all the markets every day is, how can we use this information in order to trade? Like, how do we trade with this? So trading with this doesn't mean you have to be right in forecasting. That's why we like to bracket things and see, well, which way is it going to, where's the weight? What's the probability? So that's how we kind of approach it. So looking at it through that lens, if we get a lower high from the high we put in November, earlier in November, so that would be, we take the high of the 8th, and that would be 149.77. Let's say 150, just to round it up.
150. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
let's say 150. Long as we're below 150, well, technically the 77, but long as we're below that, we have a lower high. And if we get a lower high and some kind of a reversal here, we want to watch the lower high to see if that gets taken out or not. Let's say this is the lower high, and lower high here would be 147.68. And let's
Hmm.
say, we trade lower tomorrow, but above the low of the day. So then we'll be watching this high to be taken out or not, or the low. So today's high and low is obviously important, but more important is that today's high in relation to the 150, right? Or
Hmm.
tomorrow's high in relation to the 150. Everything's in relation to that. We want to see if we can, if we're going to break out and get up to the next square and get up to 180, 183.
Which is completely possible. If we settle above that 144, it'll do it.
Yeah, you can definitely do that. So that's the idea. Well, there we go. I think aftermarket just opened. So he's like, if that's not a sign,
Right, right.
let me refresh.
Maybe
So
that was a
anyway,
sign.
yeah, yeah. Let's see what happens. So 150 is a level to watch. And as usual, we want to see if we can, if we get stuck below 147 or not. If
Hmm.
we gap up here or jump up here, and lower time frames are holding about 144 degrees up, which is one happens to be 147 in price, then we can expect it to move higher, especially if it holds above. But as long as this 150, this high is in place, and we're not taking it out, then I think there's a very high probability that we trade lower from here,
Hmm.
and we could expect the market to, probably trade lower, well, to the end of the month at least,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And looking at the monthly, you saw that 72 months. So these could be really big corrections, when they happen. I mean, last one was pretty much three-quarters of a square almost. So if this corrects, we could easily get down to 111. Uh,
A 50% correction would take you down to 75.
that's right. Yeah. Yeah.
And that would
So
still be bullish because you're just retracing half of the up move.
yeah, actually that would be very healthy, but usually how they go. I don't know if it'll be, very quick or it might take time, but either
Hmm.
way, we're squaring here and we can't ignore these things. And the only way to work with this square, what you do is you look at the tight, I would say the tightest square, or the closest one that's actually based on the daily charts, based on a decent low, and that would be this 144. So let's go with that.
Hmm.
And the bottom line is 150. If we're below that and the market reverses, it's highly likely that we are going to trade lower. And if we somehow settle above that, it's very likely that we are going to trade higher.
Hmm.
And you also saw this, right? We have this 108 by 172. I mean, this is all clustered in here. Just a little too many, right? Now, the only other, like with every other high and a lower high expectation, is that we could have a false break. So really, really be on the watch out for that, because false breaks are a great way to put in highs and lows, major highs and lows.
Yep.
So
Especially on news events.
especially on news, they might watch for it to go and take it out and reverse. So that's a big possibility. So we'll see how that goes. Anything you want to add? I don't
No,
want to
that's
make it over dramatic, because
no, it's
well, no
it's
matter what's
listen,
said and done, we only have three data points to work with. We have the old high, the low that followed, and the counter trend. So,
I think that is a great analysis. We know the key level, and now let the market tell us what it wants to do.
mhm. And my little talk about, trying to get ahead of the market and forecast it, have a story about it versus trading it. So how would you trade this? Well, first you want to, and you don't have to trade it the first day.
Right?
That's the other thing. If this really works, we're going to have a decent counter trend, just like we did, coming off the June, July highs. There's plenty of time to trade, so you can, do the short side. So what you want to do is get the earliest evidence and the lowest risk to trade the counter trend. Counter trend meaning if this is the trend, the change in trend direction.
Hmm.
And you want to look for the evidence based on your systems and so forth and so on. What we can tell you is look for the price, potential false break. If it's a false break, obviously it might take one day to wait to see if the break was false or not. And if it is, usually by the end of the day, there's evidence there'll be a reversal to the downside. It'll might pop up open or go up there and reverse, like a V shape is a normal false break, like we had
Hmm.
in the S&P this morning, right? We had went
Yep.
down, false break, whipped around, and then kind of jammed all day.
Hmm.
So those are the kind of patterns that can happen around it, and that's where you can, get some teeth into it and trade it. But as far as framing the trade, this makes it very easy because we have enough time coming in and enough price levels, so we know exactly the window to watch. I don't think we have to worry about the monthly right now. That's a little bit, plus or minus one bar is great, but when it's a month, that's potentially 3 months.
Hmm.
so
True.
so we don't want to get too much, heavily into that. We'll keep that in the background. But I think this is workable, and the 144 we looked at earlier is workable. These are all valid valid squares, and we have them. We looked at all of them. So,
Yep.
and that's enough. I think
Good
that's
stuff. Good stuff.
thanks.
Let's look at the S&P.
So the basic idea is high holds. We're looking at lower prices.
Yep. And you know what? Because it's such an important stock in the indices,
Mm-hmm.
the NQ chart looks very similar to that.
Yeah, we'll be looking at that in a minute, right?
And we'll be looking at that. Yes.
Mhm. So the weekend show Friday, we talked about how 58.48's really, really important. And now you can see why. We tapped it twice, and buyer stepped up and, tried to push it higher. Tried to push it higher maybe, but we really haven't made a whole lot of ground.
The island is still intact.
This island is still intact. Yes, yes. And we can't really ignore. Sometimes we talk about all these very casually and without a lot of drums and whistles and bells and whistles. So the 60/20 got hit pretty well, price and time, and we did correct a
Hmm.
little bit. And if you want to look at the big picture, that could be a one. We're waiting for the two. Two could be complex. That's possible. And we're going to treat it like that until the high gets taken out. I think we talked about that a couple of times
Yep.
for this. And we had other numbers that showed up. We have a 90 here, 144. We have a lot of numbers that lined up at that high. So what about the SPX? So cash wise, 58.48 is still important and not much else we can do because our next level is really 60/20. And we're
Hmm.
kind of looking for a lower high in here because of all the cycles that came in with that high.
Hmm.
And moving on to the December contract, the futures contract, same thing. We went up and squared out 108 by 72. And sure enough, we started getting lower lows. The inside bar here, nice trick this morning. Did a false break, took out the downside, then we took out the upside by the close. So we do get outside bars on these. Then you really got to watch out. That means something more creative is getting cooked in the background.
Right.
And so we'll see what happens with that. But for now, we're still long ways away from taking out the high, but we're not too far from putting in a lower high.
Hmm.
So if you guys are really following, if you go 3/8 on the same square, it would be around 59.67. That's a potential level for resistance. But either way, we're watching this. I just wanted to point out that we squared out and then we corrected down to 58.92 was the next level to watch. We more or less held that,
Hmm.
outside of that false break. We'll see how we hold above that. You can see most of all the bodies are above that level, 58.92. And interesting enough, we have the Dow, and you can see the weakness is a little bit weaker, right? Is not
Yeah.
funky, and you can see this sort of expanding triangle did we broke out of that into this sort of the kill zone, like you said last time, and
Hmm.
sold off. And the Dow hasn't even begun to make a counter trend yet. All the lows are lower lows coming into this. So we'll have to see how all that works out. For now, first level of support would be 42,596. And we're well below this 44,300. So that's something to note.
Hmm.
See if there's anything else. Again, here's a continuous contract from last October 22 low. We're squared out. 60/26 was that level. And we
Damn
talked
good.
about, yeah, really good. Nailed it.
Hmm.
58.92 is the really the level to get stuck under, so to speak, or to find support. You can say yesterday's bar was right above that. So we're kind of playing there. It's starting to look like this could be a little bit more complex than not. But either way, we'll watch it. And if you guys want to follow us on Twitter, we post this chart and a Nasdaq chart, and Ben posts his
Ping pong.
all the yeah, a lot of charts all
Hmm.
day. I only post once a day, but there's a lot of charts that come through Ben's feed. And our Twitter contacts or the links are in the description. And if you guys like our work, please remember to like and hit the alerts and subscribe and share the videos with people that could benefit. Right,
Hmm.
Ben?
Hmm.
All right. So let's look at the 30-minute because it's a good time to do it on a Tuesday night. 59.02 was the level we left off on the weekend with this 58.69 level and 59.48 being the resistance. So what happened, we basically held above 59.02, came down overnight, couldn't really get above it, and then we sold off into the right before the open, which actually stopped at a quarter square level, which is 58.58. And it really didn't get stuck under 58.69. We reversed immediately, very quick reversal, got on top of it. And then we basically just ran up into our next big level, which is 49.48. And we stalled out there. Now, for tomorrow, if we can, obviously the number is 49.48. I mean, 59.48. Obviously, if we can get above that, the market has a shot at taking a shot at getting to 59.92. Otherwise, I think we're coming into a sort of high volatility period. Otherwise, it might be back down to 59.02. And if you
Those
guys
brackets
notice,
are nice though, man. Really nice brackets.
yeah, brackets are nice to trade with. It's been working. These brackets have been working
Hmm.
pretty well. And if you notice, since about the 15th, this 59.02 has become sort of the center level, mean reversion
Hmm.
level, if you will.
Hmm.
So until we break out of this, we have to look at that. We're expanding to the upside. We're also kind of expanding to the downside. So keep an eye on that. That's kind of messy. Ben and I were talking earlier about how this is looking like, fourth wave-ish, right?
Yep.
Even like on the 4-hour charts. So it could get messy. So watch out. So these levels really help. At least you know where the boundaries are, how you can frame the price action. So
Sure.
59.48 is the number for tomorrow. All right. So that's
Hmm.
that. Let's move on. Let's touch a couple of other markets because we have a short session today. Bonds, we're looking for 45 by 45 square. Sure enough, we smacked
There
right
you
into it
are. Yep.
and got a little bounce even. So from here, we could expect some kind of a counter trend, 1 or 2, 3 day, who knows, but it's a square. Therefore, you could at least get into the 45. You could run up into the 19th, December 19th, and even all the way up to 121, 122. And that would be a 50% correction in
Hmm.
price and time if we can get there. Anything less than that obviously means the market's weaker. This is how I would read it. And the fact that we actually went a lot below 45, it's really more like 48. And I would say, as long as we're above 116, I would think we're doing some kind of a correction. But if we get below 116, I think we're going a lot lower. And then really the next big stop is let's say 111 right there.
Hmm.
All right.
Hmm.
That's that. Not much to report on crude. We're basically stuck between 64.75 and 73.50. And you guys know the story. We
Hmm.
spend more time on it on the last episode, so you can take a look at that. Dollar, sure enough, got right up to the square, and we were kind of expecting. I was expecting it to go up and do a false break up here, or at least get to the ABCD. Perhaps we will. It's just a little correction, but for now, we did get a you know, full move out of the support area into 60 degrees up from the low in July. So that's a decent level. So here we definitely had to pause and let it correct and see what happens from there.
Hmm.
Euro, same thing. Euro actually made the ABCD and
Hmm.
it's kind of hanging around the 50% level. After drop like this, I think a few days of counter trend is, 3, maybe 5 day counter trend might be in order. Let's see what happens. For now, we're watching it. Real weakness is going to show up when this ABCD gets taken out to the downside, if it does, and when it does. Hang Seng, we were looking for support around 19,450. There it is,
There it is.
holding there for 3 days. And really, the square level is 19,225. Above that, it's still kind of okay and fair, and we could run. But anything getting stuck below here is no bueno, not good at
Hmm.
all
Hmm.
in the long haul. That's all I have, I think. Right? Did I cover everything we wanted
Yeah,
to?
yeah, yeah. No, that's good. Really good
Normally we
stuff.
cover the yen. We cover some other things, but let me hold on. Give me 1 second.
If you want to jump and do the yen, that's fine.
Only because we have some yen fans and we have a pretty good
Price
square
and
to talk
time.
about.
Yeah.
Yeah, we squared out. The thing is, the dollar ran up to its own square. These aren't related, if you want to look at it that way.
Hmm.
Here we're 135
By
by
45.
45.
Hmm.
That's a clean square, and we could expect some kind of a correction coming out of that. So we did. So that's why I said the dollar is kind of correcting, yen's correcting, the euro's correcting. So let's let all that correct and
Inhale, exhale, right? Inhale, exhale.
exactly. So this is the time to. I mean, we called it out as the yen was getting up there, so
Hmm.
we're okay. So watch for this to finish, and we'll look at those levels on Friday and talk about them. Let me put it back to you.
Okay.
All right. Well, you weren't kidding about that.
That look familiar?
That look, yeah, exactly.
So, as we talked about on the weekend show, there's your key level, 20,838. and look what we're doing. We're approaching it, going into NVIDIA's earnings. Right? Anybody that's followed the story, we called out the high here. It was lagging, couldn't make a high. We pushed up. That's now looking like a false break, especially if we get stuck below this 20,838. Right? If we turn down here, this whole structure is a false break with this high.
Hmm.
So moment of truth is coming. If Nvidia is good and it can push the Nas, we'll get above here and we see if we can get above and sit on top. If we sit on top, then we're going up again.
Man, I can't see this making a high tomorrow, new high tomorrow. I mean,
No,
it could, but I just can't see it.
no, it would be really, really surprising.
Hmm.
What looks like is going to happen is we get stuck under here and turn over. And
Yeah.
then that, again, that creates this false break up here, and you have all kinds of potential for the move coming down. And then we have the time counts, the 90 high,
Hmm.
45 from September low, 72 from August. I mean, it's all there.
Yeah.
So, in addition to the rebel yell cycle hitting right in here. So let's see how it plays out
Hmm.
tomorrow with NVIDIA and see if we can get above or get stuck below this
Yeah.
key level.
Hmm.
Anything else to add here on NAS? Like I said, you basically covered it when you were talking about NVIDIA because it's a very similar chart.
Very similar, except, Nasdaq looks a little weaker.
A little weaker, yes.
So I think that your 2838 number is going to be really important to see if we
Huge.
end the day above that in some way or if we end the day below that in some
Hmm.
way,
Yeah.
you know?
So
Um,
we'll see.
yeah,
We'll see what happens. Let's go to everybody's favorite crypto, Bitcoin.
still
So when
pushing,
yeah, it's still pushing. Remember when we got this high, we said, wouldn't be surprised to see us, congest
consolidating.
here and consolidate around this. And that's what we did, although we made a new high today.
Hmm.
There's nothing bearish about it right now. Um, it's
Hmm.
a it's a very strong pattern, especially above this 91,000, this half square 91,000, and basically says we're going to 96.6 as
Hmm.
the next stop. I want to see this thing cleared. We didn't quite clear it today. As you can see, we crisscrossed it for about a week,
Hmm.
which was not to be. Um,
Ignored.
yeah, it's not. You don't ignore it, and it's pretty much expected after a move like this, right? You got to have some sort of consolidation. But the
But the
fact that,
close wasn't, looks like the open and the close was pretty, there was even
yeah,
amount of buying and selling going on.
yeah, it's possible this ends up being a false break, but
Yeah,
we'll see.
yeah, yeah,
We
exactly.
have to watch it and see.
Mhm.
I mean, you can quickly take a look at the monthly and see what we're dealing with.
Yeah, well, not so bullish now. It's just like,
Well, what I say is that I've been trying to tell people this is a high. I don't think it's the high, but it's a high, monthly basis. Because look at the timing we have here. Low to high, 22 months, 90
plus,
months.
plus the price resistance is there. It's a half a square, 93,000,
Yep. Price resistance
63.
there, circles there. Doesn't mean it can't get through it. Ideally, if it could just like rest and just backfill here and, chop around, break out of the circle and then go again would be the best way to go.
It was a big month. I mean, I only see a couple of bars that big in the entire, all the bars you have. The one in early 24.
And this one
And
was a red one.
yeah. Yeah, that was a red one. Yeah.
Right. So, is Bitcoin still bullish? Yes.
Mhm.
Would it be unexpected for it to correct or consolidate or congest here? Absolutely not. It would be very healthy.
But
So,
doesn't it look like we're in a fifth here? If you
yes,
take the 22 bottom as, that first impulse as a one,
it does.
two, three, and a complex four, and here we go.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, that's so we have to be alert. We have to be aware, and we know the levels, right? If we get above on a monthly basis, if we get above 93,000 and we can
Mhm.
close and clear that, then 111,000's next. But given that and given the daily, you can see this movement is over.
Hmm.
Now it's choppy, choppy, choppy. It's still pushing, but it's choppy.
Hmm.
And that's okay. There's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that. And that's it on Bitcoin. I think everybody, we spent a lot of time on NVDA today for a good reason. It is driving the market. It's driving this whole, sort of AI tech space right now. So seeing that all the squares and everything that are showing up is something to be aware of, right? Something to keep in the
Hmm.
back of your mind. And we watch tomorrow. We know the level. We watch tomorrow. If it closes above it and it can clear that square and clear those price and time counts, it could run a lot more. If
Right.
it doesn't, then it's going to be an uphill battle for the rest of the market because that thing's really been carrying the market, for a while now.
Hmm.
So, anything else to add, Barry, before we wrap it up? I know we're fast here on the midweek show, but hopefully we gave you some good information and armed you with good levels for tomorrow. Anything else to add?
Yeah, speaking of NVIDIA, I think again, the thing to watch would be you can put up the NASDAQ chart if you have it there. But
Yeah,
I mean, the
sure.
idea is to really to watch the market, price action and to see if it's going to look like we're going to go higher or not. That's really where it comes down to. Only because, I mean, it's only we focus on that only because of all the counts and the squares that are showing up. You know,
Hmm.
if it was any other spot, obviously those 144s and 72s don't show up, every day or every week. It's just not that often. It just happens to be right now. So
Right.
when we're kind of in that toppy kind of area. So anyway, that's yeah, I would say to watch it and look at your work and see what your systems is telling you, your indicators, your, methods, and you can combine it. I mean, that's the idea, right? The stuff we put out is just basic information in sort of story format, so you can combine it with your work and, make use of it.
That's
That's how
it.
I would serve it up.
Absolutely. Well, listen, great job, Barry. Everybody have a great rest of your week, and we will talk to you on the weekend show.
Right. Good job.
All right. Thanks, Barry.
Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.
Take care, guys.